The light switch clicked on, and my marriage turned to dust. White powder shimmered across the hardwood floor like fresh snow, except snow doesn't hold secrets. Footprints do. Small, bare, precise. They began at my husband's side of the bed. My name is Aria Whitmore. I'm 32 years old, and for the past year, I've been the devoted wife of a man who hasn't walked, not once, since his accident. Or so he claimed. Pour some flour by the bed and leave for a day. My neighbor Evelyn had murmured last week when I cried into her tea about the exhaustion, the hospital bills, the endless caregiving. I thought she was dramatic, suspicious, maybe even cruel. But yesterday I did it. I kissed my husband, Callum, on the forehead, told him I needed space, groceries, air. I drove to my cousin's apartment and silenced my phone. And now I was home, standing in our bedroom, staring at a clean trail of footprints pressed into the flour I had spread before leaving. Callum lay in bed exactly where I left him, pale, motionless, the performance flawless. But the flour told a different story. The footprints didn't lead to the bathroom. They led toward the hallway, toward the front door. And the deadbolt was unlocked. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I walked to the door and locked it quietly. Then I turned around and studied the room like a crime scene. The flour was disturbed in two directions, out and back. Callum hadn't just gotten up. He had left and returned before I did. I stood there for a full minute, forcing my breathing to stay even. 11 months. 11 months of sponge baths, medication schedules, insurance calls, lifting his full weight when he couldn't sit up without pain. I quit my marketing job for him, drained my savings, canceled plans, friends, my life, all for a man who apparently could walk. I glanced at him. His chest rose and fell in steady rhythm. Too steady, like someone pretending to sleep. The memory of the accident replayed in my head. A minor car crash. No spinal damage confirmed. Just nerve trauma. According to a doctor Callum insisted we stop seeing after 3 visits. He said the specialist was incompetent. I believed him, because I loved him. But love can be blinding when it's mixed with guilt. And suddenly, I remembered something else. 3 weeks ago, I came home early. The bed sheets were warm, but he had been asleep. My stomach turned. This wasn't weakness. This was deception. And deception always has a reason. I stepped closer to the bed. Did you enjoy your walk? I asked softly. His breathing didn't change, but his fingers twitched. His fingers twitched. Just once. Subtle. Almost invisible. But I saw it. I leaned closer, lowering my voice to a whisper meant only for him. You should have wiped the flour off your heels. Silence. Then slowly, almost theatrically, Callum's eyes fluttered open. Confused. Soft. Helpless. The same performance I'd defended to doctors, friends, even my own mother. What are you talking about, Aria? He asked, voice hoarse and weak. I stepped back and crossed my arms. Don't, I said calmly. Just don't. His gaze flicked to the floor. For half a second. That was all I needed. I went out for one night. I continued, my heart pounding but my face steady. One night. And somehow the flour I left beside your bed has footprints in it. Funny how that works. His expression hardened. Not fear. Annoyance. You're losing it, he said flatly. You've been under too much stress. Gaslighting. Immediate. Calculated. I felt something inside me shift, not break, not shatter, but solidify. This wasn't about recovery. This wasn't about pride. This was about control. He wanted me exhausted, dependent, grateful to be needed. But if he could walk, then what else had he been doing while I was gone? I walked to the hallway, and that's when I noticed something new. Mud. Near the back entrance. Fresh. And it wasn't there yesterday. The mud wasn't just near the door. It trailed inward. Thin streaks. Careless. Confident. Whoever walked in didn't expect to be caught. My pulse slowed instead of racing. That scared me more than anything. When you stop panicking, you start calculating. I followed the faint marks toward the kitchen. And that's when I saw it. 2 wine glasses in the sink. Not dusty. Not old. Still wet. I hadn't bought wine in months. Callum said the smell gave him headaches. I stood there, staring at the evidence of a life happening without me. Behind me, I heard it. The bed creak. A pause. Then, footsteps. Real ones. Heavy. Male. No pretense. I didn't turn around immediately. I let him walk into the kitchen on his own 2 perfectly functioning legs. When I finally faced him, Callum wasn't pretending anymore.
He wasn't weak.
He wasn't fragile. He looked irritated. You weren't supposed to come back early, he said.
Not sorry.
Not ashamed. Annoyed. The front door clicked open, and a woman stepped inside.
She froze when she saw me. Blonde.
Younger. Wearing my cardigan. Oh, she whispered. And in that moment, something extraordinary happened. I didn't cry. I smiled. Because humiliation isn't powerful unless it's public. And I already knew exactly how I was going to make it public. I remember the exact moment the pain stopped feeling like pain. It was when she instinctively stepped behind him. Like I was the intruder. Like I was the inconvenience. 11 months of lifting him, bathing him, feeding him, holding his hand while he cried about losing his independence. And he had been walking, hosting, drinking wine in my kitchen. I let the silence stretch until it became uncomfortable. Then I looked at her. You should leave, I said gently. Not to protect him. To protect her from what was coming. She hesitated. Callum didn't look at me. He looked at the floor. That told me everything. When the door closed behind her, I turned back to my husband. Why? I asked quietly. He exhaled sharply. I didn't want to work. I didn't want pressure. You stepped up. It worked. It worked. The simplicity of it made my stomach twist. You faked paralysis, I said. I needed a break. A break. From adulthood. From responsibility. From effort. But here's what he didn't understand. I wasn't the kind of woman who explodes. I strategize. I walked to the bedroom, picked up my phone, and opened the cloud folder labeled medical. Every prescription. Every invoice. Every insurance claim. Every documented lie. If he wanted a break, I would give him one. A permanent one. I didn't shout. I didn't threaten. I sat across from him at the dining table like we were discussing weekend plans. You should sit, I told him calmly. He hesitated, then sat. On his own. The irony almost made me laugh. I've been reviewing your medical records, I began, sliding my laptop toward him. The neurologist you fired? I called her this morning. His jaw tightened. She remembers you, I continued. Specifically, how quickly you refused further scans when they showed no structural damage. Silence. I clicked play. The baby monitor recording filled the room. Audio from months ago. His voice.
Clear. Standing.
Laughing. Make sure she's gone by 6, he had told someone. The blonde. His face drained of color. You were confident, I said. Confident enough to move freely when I was at work. Confident enough to host. I leaned forward. I've already spoken to a lawyer. Fraud is complicated when insurance companies are involved. Very complicated. His breathing changed. Real fear this time. You wouldn't, he whispered. I tilted my head. I quit my job for you.
Pause.
I have nothing to lose. Then I slid one final document across the table. Divorce papers.
Signed. Filed.
Effective immediately. You don't need to pretend anymore, I said softly. Because tomorrow you're walking into court. He didn't sleep that night.
I did.
For the first time in 11 months, I slept without listening for fake groans or midnight medication alarms. Morning came quietly. Court was not dramatic. No shouting. No spectacle. Just paperwork and truth. Insurance fraud investigators had already been notified. I hadn't needed to exaggerate anything. The documentation spoke for itself. His sudden, miraculous recovery after my filing didn't help his credibility. When the adjuster asked him when he regained mobility, he stuttered. When did you first walk unassisted? She pressed. He glanced at me. I held eye contact.
He looked away.
His lawyer kept clearing his throat. The insurance representative kept writing notes. The calmness in the room was suffocating, the kind of quiet that destroys reputations without raising its voice. By afternoon, his temporary disability payments were frozen pending investigation. By evening, his name was flagged. And by night, he finally called me. "You've ruined me," he said. I leaned against the balcony railing of my sister's apartment, city lights glowing below. "No," I replied evenly. "You ruined yourself." He was silent. Then softer. "Arya, please." That was the first time he'd sounded small. But weakness isn't the same as regret. And I wasn't done yet. He thought the court was the worst of it. It wasn't. The real consequence wasn't the frozen payments or the investigation. It was exposure. 2 days later, I uploaded a single, carefully edited video to a private family group chat. No dramatic music. No commentary. Just security footage from our living room, time-stamped. Callum standing. Stretching. Walking. Opening the door for her. Laughing. Then, a cut to the date of his worst relapse, when he told my parents he couldn't feel his legs. I added one caption. For anyone who wondered why I left. That was it. Within an hour, my phone vibrated nonstop. His mother crying. His brother furious. Mutual friend stunned. He called again, voice shaking. "You're humiliating me." I closed my eyes and felt something unfamiliar.
Peace.
"You humiliated yourself the day you made me carry you," I said quietly. I just stopped carrying the lie. There was a long pause. Then he asked the question he should have asked a year ago. "Why are you so calm?" I looked at the sunrise bleeding across the horizon. Because I finally know the truth. And here's the twist he never saw coming. I didn't lose 11 months. I gained clarity. I learned that love without integrity is just manipulation dressed as vulnerability. And I learned something even more important. I am not the woman who breaks. I am the woman who watches. And when I move once.